Hey guys, this is the second video for the week. I told you that you were going to learn about Newton's laws of motion. Well, at the same time, you guys are going to be working this week doing several different activities. And I want you to think about the scientific process. You guys learned early on about the scientific process. And now I want you to focus and shift it and call it the experimental design. Because that's exactly what it is. Every test is going to be a little bit different. So let's look at my question. I've got my precious little dog. He is the one on the left. The one on the right belongs to my sister. And so I have a question for you. Does the age of the dog dictate the number of hours that they sleep? I had my sister's dog for 10 days. She came in town. She was on vacation. She's a children's minister in Marble Falls. And my dog is 10 years old. Bentley, my sister's dog, is 7 months old. So my question for you is, does the age of the dog dictate the number of hours that they sleep? Well, when we're talking experimental design, it could be as simple as that. You start off with a question or a problem. Then we go to a process. And if you can remember, oh heck, then that will help you out. Observation, hypothesis, experiment, and conclusion. Oh heck. So what exactly does observation entail? Well, it goes making quantitative and qualitative observations. So I've drawn you a clipboard with some information written down. That's a ruler on the right. I apologize for my drawing. It's ridiculous. Kind of looks like a plane without wings, but that's a ruler. And then a timekeeping piece, because remember, quantitative deals with numbers and measurement, and qualitative deals with description. So you make observations with this particular question. So let's go back to my picture. I would make the observation, let me hide the board. I would make the observation that one dog is sleeping, the other dog seems to be wide awake. That would be an observation. Its eyes are open. The dog's eyes are open. That would be an observation that I could make. I could also make an observation that Cooper is 10, that's a physical measurement, whereas Bentley is 7 months old. All right, so then we get into the hypothesis. And the hypothesis has to be an if-then statement. So if the dog is older, then the dog will sleep more. It's a possible explanation or an answer to the initial question. Does that sound like something else we've talked about before? Maybe an inference, maybe a claim? Well, that's exactly what it is. You're taking your observations plus your prior knowledge and thinking about a possible explanation. So then here comes the meaty portion of the experimental design, is the actual experiment. In the experiment, you have to have several things. You have to have one thing that's going to change, and that's the manipulated variable. Then you've got something that's going to be responding or that you're going to measure. That is directly related to the manipulated variable. You want to only change that one manipulated variable so then you can see what the response is. So in this case, I would take both dogs. They're both the same kind of dog. One dog happens to be 7 months old, the other one happens to be 10. So the manipulated variable here would be the age of the dog. The responding variable is going to be how much the dog sleeps. Every other variable has to stay the same. So where they sleep, what time they go to sleep, what kind of food, how much exercise, all of those things are going to be controlled variables or constants. And sometimes you end up with a control group, and that's the group that measures up against the manipulated variable for comparison. In this case, we're not going to have one of those. So you go through and you test, and you collect your data, and you come up with a possible scenario, and you have controlled variables, and everything is perfect. You collect your data. Well, what do you do with that when you're done? That's when you come to your conclusion, or the C. You're analyzing your results and the data. Basically, did my experiment support my hypothesis? If it didn't, then what might need to change? Do I need to go back and do something over? Maybe change the type of food instead of the age of the dog. What do I need to do? It's also going to include the final thoughts and connections to the concepts or ideas that you're studying. In this case, we're not really studying an idea per se. So again, experimental design, you say, oh heck, observation, hypothesis, experiment, conclusion. That's a